if you're anything like me and didn't know anything about Linux and are wanting to start your own media server, I'll be going through how to install, set up, and maintain your media server. We're going to be using a project called YAMS, which stands for Yet Another Media Server. It's a great project. I use it personally, but it's going to walk us through how to set up the entire package, which includes not only Jellyfin, but also the entire Servarr package, which includes Radarr, Sonarr, Prowlarr, Bazarr, and all that. I'll also be going through how to install Seerr, which is a manager for Sonarr and Radarr in one, as well as port forwarding, RAID setup, and any of that as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So what you will need to get started is you will need a computer, of course, as well as a Linux distribution. It's recommended you use Ubuntu, which is what I use as well. That's what YAMS is written for. Your mileage may vary if you choose a different distro. So I've got a Optiplex 7050 Micro, which is a really small form factor computer. I'll show a picture of it here. As well as Ubuntu 26.04 freshly installed. First things first, we'll go ahead and open up the terminal. You can hit the Windows key or the super key on your computer, on your keyboard, and you can just start typing terminal, and we'll go ahead and open up that. If you haven't already, go ahead and run sudo apt update and upgrade as well. So we'll go ahead, just do this just to make sure. And then we'll go ahead and run sudo apt upgrade. And I've already ran it, so everything's good to go here. So next thing that we need to do is we need to install Docker. So Docker is what will allow all these packages to run together. Docker calls them containers. So each one of these will be a different container. So Jellyfin, Sonarr, Radarr, and all of your other programs as well. So we'll go ahead and go to the Docker website, and I'll put links down in the description for easy access as well. So we're going to be installing Docker Desktop, which includes Docker Compose, which is what we're going to be using to run all of our Docker containers. So we need to set up the Docker repository. We'll go ahead and just copy this right here and Control-Shift-V into there, hit enter. So it'll go ahead and run everything real quick. We'll hit Y, enter to continue. Then I'll go ahead and add the repository and sync it as well. And after that is done, we'll go ahead and install Docker itself. So we'll go ahead and copy all this as well. And Control-Shift-V, enter. Go ahead, hit Y, enter. And this may take some time depending on your internet speed and any other variables. And now that it's done, we'll go ahead and verify that the system is running. And so we can see that Docker is in fact running. So then we can hit Control-C to get back to the terminal. If it isn't running, what you can do is type in sudo system control start Docker, and that would start Docker as well. So, and then we'll verify that everything is good to go. We'll run sudo docker run hello-world, and this is all in the documentation as well for installing Docker. But this is just to verify that everything's set up correctly. So if we go ahead and hit enter, in our case, it's going to download that Docker package. And now Docker is running correctly. So we're all good there. And so the reason why you want to download it this way, if you download the snap package of Docker, it won't work with any of the YAMS programs. So make sure that you're downloading Docker desktop, which contains Docker Compose. So now that that's done, next thing we'll do is we'll verify that we have git -- version. So we've got git version 2.53.0. If you don't have it yet, make sure you run sudo apt update and then sudo apt install git, just like that. And then it'll prompt you to enter password if you haven't in a while, and then it'll install git. And then run git -- version again to verify that git is installed and working. So next thing we'll do is we'll verify that we do have an installation location as well as a media folder for where all of our stuff is going to live. So cd into opt, and then so what we can go ahead and do is sudo make directory -p /opt/yams, and you can do this without cding into opt as well. And what that'll do is now if we ls, we can see that it has the YAMS folder in there as well. What we can do while we're here as well is make sure that it owns that folder as well. So we can do sudo chown -R, and we'll do user : user, and then /opt/yams. And then we'll do the same thing for our media directory. Again, you can do this without cding into it. I'm just going to go ahead and do it as well. So we'll cd back a little bit and we'll cd into Servarr. So now that we're here, what we'll do is we'll sudo make directory /p, and then we'll do, you can do /srv, or you can just type in media. That'll make it. And then as well do your chown $user : $user, as well as your directory here as well. One thing to keep in mind is don't use root as the owner of any of this. Make sure that you're the owner of it, just to keep things a little bit clean, as well as making sure that you have full read and write permissions. You should, but just in case, make sure that you're setting yourself to those groups if you need. So what we need to do now is verify that we can in fact run Docker without the sudo in front of it. So what we'll do is go ahead and do docker run hello-world. You may or may not get this error. So if you do get this error, what you can do is sudo usermod -a-g docker, and then $user. What you can do then is we'll just do sudo reboot now. So I'm going to go ahead and reboot the system. It's going to do its thing, and it'll reload the shell, hopefully with the Docker group added to it, so we can run Docker without needing sudo in front of it. So now that it's started back up, we'll go ahead and log in to our system here, open terminal back up, go ahead and try to run hello world again. And now that the changes have taken effect and our user is now in the Docker group, we can go ahead and run Docker without needing sudo in front of it. And you can verify this by just running groups, and then you can see right here that we do in fact have the Docker group. So now that that's done, we'll go ahead and clone Git onto our computer. So go ahead and do git clone --depth equals 1 here. Then we'll put in the link to the GitLab that YAMS is hosted on, and we'll go ahead and throw it into a temp folder. And then we'll cd into that temp folder here. And you can see here that it's all cloned into there. So next we'll do bash install.sh. So now you'll see the script welcome screen here. Should see where it says YAMS and then everything here. So I'm just going to check that everything is good to go, and then you'll just hit user to own the media server files. In my case, it's me, so I'll hit enter, and I just do everything default. So go ahead, installed into /opt/yams, and then /srv/media, which is what we created earlier. So, and then we'll hit yes. So it's going to go ahead and create TV shows, movies, music, books, as well as some Usenet stuff, as well as downloads, torrents, and a black hole folder as well. We'll get to that, all of that later. So by default, it's going to choose Jellyfin as your media service. That's what I use, and that's what we're going to be using today. But feel free to use MB or Plex if you so choose. Keep in mind that Jellyfin is completely free, whereas with Plex, you may need a Plex pass if you want to access it remotely, which is an additional cost. So we're just going to hit enter for Jellyfin. And you'll see here it says YAMS will install Jellyfin on port 8096. So when we go to access the web pages, you'll put in your VPN plus that port at the end of it, and there will be a different port for each one. So Jellyfin will be 8096, one will be 7878, another one will be 6767. So next, you need to set up a VPN. It's highly recommended that you do use a VPN. I use Proton. I've had no problems with it. So we'll go ahead and click enter because it's default to yes. VPN service, which is default, is Proton VPN. So we'll hit enter again. So now that we're here, you will want to use a paid Proton VPN account at least. If you just use a free Proton VPN, you can't use port forwarding unless you pay for their VPN. But it's a pretty reasonable price, I would say, for their VPN service, and it works great and it's super fast. So there it's outside. Default is no, so we'll go ahead and enter for no. Go ahead and check the documentation separately on your own time. You can go ahead and copy and paste that into your browser. Otherwise, I'll put it in the description. So take a pause real quick, read that documentation just to make sure that everything is set, and then we'll be right back. While you're reading the documentation, also go into your Proton VPN account. You'll hit the settings, and then you'll go into this section here, where you'll go down here, and then you'll click Open VPN. So you'll see your credentials for OpenVPN. You'll have your OpenVPN username and your OpenVPN password. Don't put in your Proton username and password into this because it just won't work and it's not very secure. So we'll go ahead and copy our OpenVPN username, Control-Shift-V, enter. We'll go ahead and click Y because we do have a paid Proton account. And then our VPN password, we'll go back and copy our OpenVPN password. And then we'll Control-Shift-V, enter. It's going to verify that everything's installed correctly. Then it's going to update the configuration, and then it's going to start pulling everything for YAMS. So as you can see, you've got Lidar, Sonarr, Prowlarr, Bazarr, Radarr, SAB NZBD, which we're not going to use, Portainer, Jellyfin, qbittorrent, Gluton, and Watchtower. So Gluton is what's going to be running everything through the VPN, just because of the nature of Sonarr and Radarr, but it's going to go ahead and download everything super quick here. It may take a little bit, which it says there, it may take a while. So we're just going to go ahead and let it download everything real quick, and then we will be right back. And now that it's pulled all the packages, now it's going to create all the networks and the containers for everything. It looks like it's almost done actually. So in just a moment, we'll get further along here. Okay, so now that everything is pulled, created, and started, you'll need to enter in your password one more time. So we'll go ahead, enter our password here, enter. So YAMS should be installed. Everything should be good to go. It might take a few minutes for everything to fully start. So just give it a couple minutes before you start trying to go to the websites. Because if you go instantly, it may not even start up. So while we're waiting, what we'll go ahead and do is we'll run a command, yams check -vpn. So if everything is correct, we'll see our IP here, which is the public IP address for that server, and then it'll also grab, hopefully, the different VPN, the different IP, which means that it's masking our IP, so we should be undetectable. So that is all good. So now what we need to do is we need to go ahead and configure everything, and this will be all according to the guide. You can read this if you'd like, but I'll walk you through it here. So now what we'll do is we'll do docker logs qbittorrent. So you'll see here we have password, or the username admin, which will be the default username for the web UI, and it'll provide a temporary password. You should change that password later, and I'll go ahead and show you that once we get in there. So what we can do is go to Firefox, and we'll go into our private IP, and back on the terminal here, you can see these are our URLs here, and this will be different for you. It'll show a different private IP. It may or may not start with 192.168, depending on your ISP of choice. So, but in this case, it's 192.168.0.36. So we'll enter that in, and then the port for qbittorrent is 8081. So go ahead and enter that, and then we'll put in the username. And in this case, there's a temporary password, so we'll go ahead, copy that here, and throw that into the we'll throw that into the password there. We'll go ahead and log in. So once we're in here, you can see it's pretty empty. Not a whole lot going on right now, but we'll get a few things set up here. You'll go ahead and hit this options button in the top right of all these icons up here. So first thing we'll do is we'll go to downloads, and change your default save path to data downloads /torrents. So what's happening in the background is we've set our media directory as /srv/media on our computer, but on the Docker side, the Docker container will only see it as /data and then everything in there. So that's why we're using /data instead of /srv/media/downloads. It starts at /media, but it'll be /data. So then we'll go over to the BitTorrent tab, and then to start, just for the configuration, we'll go ahead and hit this and change this to 0. But later on, you can either set your own seeding limit or uncheck it. It is kind of a dick move to set it to 0. So what's happening when you set the seed limit to 0, basically it'll share the torrent until you finish downloading. Then it'll wait for Sonarr or Radarr to pick that file up and then file it into Jellyfin. You can change it later in the config files. Would highly recommend, because some torrent services monitor your seeding ratio, and if you have a low ratio, they'll restrict it or even ban you altogether from their torrent service. So make sure if you're in a private torrent that you're respecting their seeding ratios. So, and then next we'll go to the web UI here. Here what we'll do is we'll do this here. We'll check this, and then since ours is a 192.168.0.0, and then we'll do / we can do 36 or whatever. So if it's on our local network and it's within that range of 192.168.0.0 all the way to 0.36, it won't require the password to log into the web UI. If you don't do this, if your other devices are outside of that range, you can change this as needed based on what, or if you just want to set a specific IP, but keep in mind this does change often. So while we're here, you can also change the admin password to log in. Make sure it's a secure password, but that is totally up to you. But make sure you're changing it from that temporary password stored in the logs, just for security reasons. So I'll go ahead and change mine here. We'll go to advanced, and for our network interface, we want to make sure it's on the GluTon 0 interface. What this does is we want to make sure that qbittorrent is always using the VPN connection and stops if the VPN goes down for any reason. So and then make sure you save your configuration at the bottom once again. So now, as you can see here at the bottom, if you hover over this may or may not say firewalled or connected. If yours is firewalled, you can go through the documentation there. Since we set up port forwarding on our Proton VPN connection, and you can modify the Docker Compose file under the GluTon container to add, a script to manually or automatically change to the forwarded port provided by your VPN provider. In this case, is Proton. So in our case, it's connected. So that means if we have any torrents, it'll upload it to anyone who's trying to download it. So now that that's done, we'll go back here. Just for good measure, we'll YAMS check -VPN, make sure that everything is still working and that it is still a different IP. So in our case, it shows we're in the Netherlands, which I do not live in. So next thing we'll do is we'll set up Radarr, which is the movie manager. So what we'll do is we'll go back to Firefox, and we'll access Radarr here. So we'll enter in our private IP again here, .0.36, which again, yours may be different. Check your logs above, which will show you what your private IP is. But the port for Radarr is 7878. So go ahead, enter that. So now we need to go ahead and set up Radarr. So authentication method, you want to select forms, authentication required, disable for local addresses. Then you'll choose a username and a password. You can do admin or you can do your own username. Just make sure that you remember it because you may need to get back in here if stuff breaks later on. So I'll go ahead and enter admin and then a password real quick. And save here. So don't worry about these here. We'll set this up and then it should be configured. So first things first, we'll go settings, media management, and then we'll hit the show advanced here. So movie naming, this is kind of up to you, but what's recommended is we'll do rename movies, and then we can change this standard movie format, and we can get rid of this quality full, and it'll show you an example of what it'll look like. And I'll show you an example of what it would look like right here. So at the bottom here, we'll go add root folder, and then we'll do data, and then we'll do movies. Then after that, we'll go ahead and save changes here. Next thing, we'll go to download clients, and we'll hit this plus button here. And what we'll do is we'll scroll down here, and then we'll click qbittorrent. So here we'll do 192.168.0.36, and make sure you change this to 8081, and then enter your username here as well as your password that you use to log into the web UI. And then after you've entered in all of that, we'll go ahead and hit test, and if you get a green check mark, that means we're all good to go and that's all set up. So we'll hit save, and if you use SAB and ZBD for Usenet stuff, you can add that here as well. We're just going to be doing qbittorrent at this time. So now we can move on to Sonarr, which is going to be the TV show aspect of that. So go ahead and go enter our private IP here again, but this time the port for that is going to be 8989. So we'll enter there, and then same thing for here. We'll want to do forms, disabled for local addresses, and then you can set your username as well here and password. So we'll hit save there. So now go settings, media management, show advanced here, and then we'll hit rename episodes as well. What we'll do here is, again, we'll get rid of this quality full so that it just says series title, season, whatever, episode, whatever, and then episode title. And same thing for the daily episode format, as well as the anime episode format, just to clean things up a little bit. And then again, we'll scroll down to the bottom here, enter in add a root folder, we'll go to our data, and we'll do TV shows. Hit OK, and then we'll go ahead and hit save changes. Then same thing here, we'll go down to download clients, and we'll do the same thing that we did on Radarr. We'll hit the plus button, and we'll hit qbittorrent. Then same thing, you'll enter in your IP address here. And then again, we'll change our port to 8081. And then once more, we'll enter in our username and password that we set in the web UI. So again, just make sure you hit test. And if you're good, you'll get a green check mark. And we can go ahead and hit save. So next thing we'll do is we'll set up Prowlarr, which will search for torrents with all these different torrent services that we'll select. So we'll go ahead, open a new tab. Once again, type in our private IP. Then the port for Prowlarr is 9696. Same thing here, we'll change this to forms login page, disabled for local addresses, set your username and password here. We'll hit save here. And what we'll do is we'll go add new indexer. And this can be a little overwhelming at first, but there's kind of two that you can kind of get started on, and then I'll show you how to filter to kind of narrow it down. One indexer that's good for movies is YTS, which is this here. And keep in mind, this is a public indexer. There are private ones, which you will need an invite for or an application. But keep in mind, those private indexers usually do have a seed ratio that you need to stay to. So go ahead, do that. And we'll change the base URL. You can kind of start at the top and just make sure you test. And if any of them don't work, you can just go down the list until you know that test check mark shows up green. So we'll go ahead and save that. One thing you'll find with a bunch of these indexers is that a lot of them are protected by Cloudflare, which there's kind of no workaround right now. What you will see in some of these is it says requires Flare solver, but that Flare solver does not work anymore. So kind of you're out of luck unless you have a private login. So but what we can do to kind of filter these out is we'll change the protocol to torrent. We'll select English US, and you can also do GB for British TV if you'd like, or you can do Japanese or any other language you can do here. But then we'll change the privacy to public, and then what we'll do is we'll check movies. We'll scroll down and do TV as well. So we can go ahead and go through a couple of these, test to make sure they work. So we can do Nabin, Lime torrents, we can do torrent download, we can do torrent downloads, we can do uindex. Oh, that one doesn't work. So now that we've got a couple indexers, what we can do is we can test them all real quick and just make sure that they're all still working. A thing to keep in mind is if you request too many things at once, you may get rate limited for a small amount of time. So it may happen when you're first setting it up, but as you kind of slow down and start adding media, maybe once a week or twice a week, it won't be as much of a problem. So next we'll connect Prowlarr to Radarr and Sonarr, so that you can control all your indexers in one place and then feed them to both. So first things first, we'll grab the Radarr API key, and then we'll go, let's see, we'll go down to general, And then under security, there will be an API key here. So you'll go ahead, copy that, and go back into Prowlarr. And you'll go Settings, Apps, then you'll click Add right here. In this case, we'll be adding Radarr first. And then what you can do is you can change localhost to Prowlarr, 2 R's 9696, and the same thing for down here for the Radarr server. You can change that to Radarr 7878, and then you'll put in the API key that you got from Radarr in here. Hit test, it should be green, and then you'll hit save as well. Same thing for Sonarr. We'll go into Sonarr, we'll go General, scroll down, copy our API key from Sonarr, back into Prowlarr, add Sonarr, and same thing here. We'll change Prowlarr with 2 R's, and then Sonarr 2 R's. Make sure the ports are the same as well. And again, copy the API key into there, test it, got a green check mark, so we're all good. So we'll hit save. Then we'll hit sync app indexers here. That'll flow all the indexers through to both apps. So to verify that this worked, we can go into here, then we can go into indexers, and then you can see now all of our indexers have been placed into there. So now we'll go into Bazarr, which will handle subtitles. So again, we'll open up, enter in our IP address, and then the port for Bazarr is 6767. So I'll enter in that. So it'll just throw you right into settings. So start in languages, and then what you can do is you can put in English, and here you can also add any other subtitles you want as well, Spanish, Italian, any flavor you prefer. So then we'll go down to add new profile here. And then you can give it a name, anything you prefer. I'll just call it EN for English, and we'll add that language here. And you can select normal or hearing impaired, and you can select it there and search always. If you add multiple languages before, you'll need to click the add language button each time for each language you've picked. So now that we're done here, we'll hit save, and then we'll go down here a little bit, and we'll set it as the default language profile for both series here, and movies is here, right there. So then we'll go ahead and hit save up there. So now what we'll do is we'll go hit providers. There's a number of providers you can choose from. I do opensubtitles.com, which is a paid subscription. Let's see. This one here, you will need a username and password, but that one is the fastest, and there's no rate limit on it, so your mileage may vary, but that's up to you if you want to pay for Open Subtitles. So otherwise, what we'll do is we can hit Anime Tosho, enable, and we can go, we can do embedded subtitles. This is in case the media files that you download on your torrents have subtitles embedded into the files. This is just a provider that will extract it and let you view it. So we'll enable that as well. And then look here for any other English subtitles here. You can add super subtitles. We can do wisdom. And again, we'll hit save here. And then we'll go down to subtitles. We'll scroll down to performance and optimization, and then we can do treat embedded subtitles as downloaded. It'll basically, as it says here, treat embedded subtitles in the media files is already downloading when determining if it's missing or not. So then we'll go down to Sub-Zero subtitle content modifications. We'll just go ahead and do all of these here. And this one as well. And then after that, we'll go ahead and hit enable automatic subtitles audio synchronization. The YAMS tutorial kind of states to set both the thresholds for 50, but your mileage may vary. You can increase or decrease as needed. So we'll go ahead and throw both of these at 50. And this is what I use, and it's worked great for me. But again, if you need to change it later, you always can. So we'll go ahead and just hit that for now. So again, we'll link Sonarr and Radarr to Bazarr here. So we'll go here. Again, we'll go back to General and grab our API key. And then go Sonarr. So we'll enable Sonarr. Change this here. We'll change the address to our private IP here. And then we'll throw in our API key there, and we'll test it. And you'll see the Sonarr version pop up here if everything's good. So hit save there, and then we'll do the same for Radarr as well. So we'll grab the Radarr API key under settings, general, and security. Go back to Bazarr, hit Radarr, use Radarr. Again, we'll change our IP address here. And then throw our API key right there, test, and you'll get the version there. So, and again, make sure you hit save. So now that we've set the backbone for everything, we'll go ahead and start setting up Jellyfin now. So enter in your IP, and then the port for Jellyfin is 8096. So we'll enter that. You'll see the Jellyfin logo. Here you can change your server name. So in this case, we'll do Optiplex, but you can change it to anything you want, whatever you decide. So we'll hit next. Go ahead and choose a username for the admin account. I would do my name or nickname with admin on the end of it. So I'll do Wagi admin here, and then I'll set up a password here. So now that we're here, we're going to go ahead and add our media libraries. So first we'll set this as movies. It'll display as movies, and then we'll go ahead and add the movies folder. So we'll go hit the add folders button, the little plus sign, and we'll hit data, and then we'll hit movies right down there. We'll hit OK. And make sure preferred download language is English. We can type ENG to start there. Ooh. And we can hit OK. And then we'll do the same thing for shows. And you can change the display name if you wish, or you can leave it. We'll go data, scroll down to TV shows. Hit OK. And again, change your download language to English. And this will be the preferred download language for your metadata, which will automatically populate it with any images and text for the synopsis of the episodes or movies if you need. So go ahead, hit OK there. And if you so choose to add a music folder or any anything else, you can add like an anime folder here. You can do shows and then just rename it to anime. And then you can select an anime folder here if you so choose to. Otherwise, it'll just all be filed into shows and movies. So go ahead and hit next. Again, this is the defaults for the metadata language that will be downloaded. Go ahead, hit that. This is up to you. You can either only access it from your local network, or you can set it up to connect remotely from anywhere, which we'll be setting up later. But we'll go ahead, hit next, and then we'll finish here. So go ahead and log in with the username and password that we just created. And now we are pretty much all set up. Woggy from the future here. One thing I forgot to mention is if you need to add users to your Jellyfin server. So in order to do that, what you'll do is you'll go into your Jellyfin admin dashboard by clicking the hamburger menu and going down to admin dashboard. And then once you're on here, what you'll do is you go over to the left hand side and click users. And then what you can do is you can click this plus button. And then what you can do is you can set a name for it. So say you want to add your mom to this. By default, you can log in without a password, which means that they can either just click their profile picture on the login page, or type in their username, which in this case, the username would be mom, and then they wouldn't have to enter a password and they can just log in. Either you can set a password now, or they can set a password later, up to them. But what you will want to do is either click this enable access to all libraries, or if there's something you don't want to share with mom for some reason, you can select either one or not all of them. Totally up to you, but you can just click that, click save, and then what you can do is you can go through this and see if there's anything that you want to change. Otherwise, you can just select this allow remote connections to the server. And then if you scroll down, there's this hide this user from login screens button. So if you want to have a selection of users that can just click their profile icon from the login screen, you can uncheck this, and I'll show you in a second, and it'll show up. Otherwise, if you want to have everyone just log in with their username and optional password, then you can check this on everyone's account. So what we can do is click that, click save, and then for the sake of the tutorial, we'll go ahead and log out of our admin account. So then once you go to the address, it'll show this. So what they can do is just click that, and then they can sign in. Otherwise, they would have to click this manual login. For example, if you want to log into your admin account that you want to keep hidden, you would click that, put in your username and password, and log in that way. We can go ahead and test that everything's working together. So we can go to Radarr here, and then let's say we want to download Kung Fu Panda. We can search for Kung Fu Panda. You can go ahead and choose this one here. You can go ahead and change movie or movie and collection. If your movie is part of a collection, like a trilogy or anything like that, we'll make sure that minimum availability is released. We'll change the quality profile. I usually do 720p/1080p, and then we'll go ahead and hit add movie. So it's going to go ahead and actively search all of the indexers that you selected earlier, and it's going to file it into qbittorrent here in just a little bit. So So we can see it's still searching by these rotating spinning wheels up there. Okay, so it looks like it has found one, so we'll go into qbittorrent, and so we can see that it is currently downloading, and you can see how many seeds and how many peers you have, what your download speed is, and what your ETA is here. And so while we're waiting for Kung Fu Panda to download, what we can do is look at the Docker Compose file, so you can kind of get an idea of, you know, what you're looking at when you need to go modify it in any ways. So Docker Compose files are located in /opt/yams, so we'll cd into that, and then we can see that there's 2 Docker Compose files in here. So the one that we're going to want to modify is the docker-compose.custom.yaml, which is where we'll add Nginx proxy manager for reverse proxying into our server. But what we can do is we can go into the docker-compose.yaml file and kind of see what we're working with. So you can do nano and then docker-compose.yaml. It can kind of look a bit confusing, but kind of the basic idea of it is, so the services is at the very top of the YAML file, and every Docker container that you add after that will be listed under that. So, and YAMS is very nice in which it adds a comment for each one and tells you exactly which one does. So Jellyfin, which is what your media service is, to where you can access it all. So you've got Jellyfin. This image here is where it'll pull the image of the program from. So you can see it's lscr.io/Linux server and then the media service there. So in this case, it's pulling Jellyfin, which is the default one. That variable, the $media service, is what we selected earlier when we were setting up the YAMS server, where we entered to do Jellyfin. So container name, again, this is called Jellyfin. Environment, this is some user IDs and group IDs here. You don't really want to mess with this, just keep it where it's at, so you don't really break a whole lot of stuff. Volumes, this is where it stores any configuration files, as well as the media directory. You can see here the media directory, which we set as /srv/media, is then mapped to /data with this colon here. So it's located on our computer at /srv/media, but on any of these Docker containers, it's accessed at /data. So, and again, ports, you can see that the ports is 8096, as well as restart unless stop. So in case anything goes wrong, it'll automatically restart any of your containers. So same thing for qbittorrent. This one does have a network mode for Gluton, which is our VPN service. SAB, NZBD for Usenet, which we don't use. Sonarr, Radarr, LiDAR, which we don't use in this tutorial, but you can set it up yourself. If you want to do music, you would just set it up the same way that you did Radarr and Sonarr, with indexers, API keys, and everything there. Bazarr is our subtitles. Prowlarr is our index searcher service. Gluton, you can see everything here for your VPN service here. Portainer, which I'll show you in just a minute, is monitoring the containers if you need. Watchtower is just going to keep everything updated, and then there's a network config for your Gluten service as well as the YAMS network. So we'll do Control X to exit, and I'll show you Portainer real quick here. Again, we'll enter in our private IP, and the port for Portainer is 9000. So if you get this when you try to access Portainer for the first time, what you can do is just do docker stop Portainer, and then it'll stop Portainer just a second, hopefully. And then you can do docker start Portainer. So we'll go back in here, we'll refresh. So you'll set, again, your username and password. You can leave it default admin and just add a password there. And then you will need this setup token. So what we can do is docker logs Portainer. And then you'll see this setup token here. So we'll go ahead and Control-Shift-C to copy that back into Firefox, and then we'll put that setup token right there. In my case, it looks like I need to change my password because it's not long enough. So we'll go ahead and create user. Okay. Oh, looks like we'll copy this setup token here, and then we'll create user. Okay, so after you log in, you'll see the environment wizard. What you can do is you can just hit home up here, and then you'll be connected to this local environment. Then you can click containers, and then you can see all of your containers here. In this case, we can remove this one, which is our hello world. So there we go. So now we can see, it'll tell you if it's running. In this case, we can go into the Jellyfin one, and we can actually here either go console or logs, and we can see kind of what's going on here. So this is just an easy way to manage all of your containers here. In case one's not working right, then you can kind of go into the logs, see what's working, and you can restart it, pause it, stop it, start it, whatever. And just for reference here, I'll show you, this is my my actual server. So I've got a couple more containers in here. Mainly clean up our ersatz TV, which is a program to make your own internet TV that you can then throw in Jellyfin. That's not really going to be talked about today. Image, which is basically a basically like Google Photos but self-hosted. But we can also see I've got Nginx Proxy Manager, Pi-hole, my pork bun DDNS. Pork bun is where I get my my domain from. But so what we can do is, so I'll kind of show you how reverse proxying works. So you can use pretty much anything, but Nginx Proxy Manager is kind of going to be the simplest. It's what I use. But so we'll go to proxy hosts, and I've got a couple different ones set up so that I can access it away from home. But so we can see here I've got one for my Jellyfin server, my Seerr, which is now known as Seerr, as well as Radarr and Sonarr. But basically what you'll do is on your Nginx Proxy Manager side for Jellyfin, for example, so you'll put in your Jellyfin dot whatever your domain name is. You'll do your HTTP, you'll do your IP, your public, your private IP. So in this case, for this this Optiplex, it would be the 192.168.0.36, as well as your forward port, which for Jellyfin is 8096, as well as make sure you block common exploits and WebSocket support. As well as for SSL, when you first set it up, you'll do this request a new certificate with Let's Encrypt, which will do a DNS challenge with your domain to generate an SSL certificate. So that way you can use HTTPS, which is the more secure version of that. And then make sure you just do force SSL, HTTP2 support, HSTS enabled, as well as HSTS subdomains, just for security reasons. So one thing to keep in mind though is if you're going to be reverse proxying, you're going to be exposing your server to the internet. So anything can happen. You can be remote accessed. So just make sure you know kind of what you're doing. If you're not sure, then I wouldn't recommend this. And you can use services like Tailscale, which will provide remote access, but under a VPN. But if you do feel comfortable exposing your server to the internet, this is a good option. Otherwise, kind of be cautious of what you're doing. So on the domain side, you'll want to set up your A record, and I'll do this here. So for Jellyfin, let's say, so you'll have an address record, which is your A type. You'll do your host, which in this case it would be jellyfin. Whatever your domain name is, and then your IPv4 address. So this will be your public IP address. So you can do either, what's my public IP, or use the terminal to find out what it is. But the problem with this is if you don't have a static IP, your public IP will change a lot. So that's why I use the porkbun DDNS container, which I have a API key with porkbun, which then updates all of these automatically anytime my public IP changes. So that way I don't have to really think about it. It just automatically changes it if I need to. So yeah. On your DNS, on your domain side, you would put in your public IP. Then on the proxy manager side, you would put in your private IP, your 192.168. So that way you can access it outside if you're at your friend's house or visiting someone or across the country or even outside the country. I don't know. So that's NPM. Now, if you're going to be using a RAID setup, which is if you're going to be doing multiple drives set up as one. So, for example, on my server, which I'm remoted into right now, I currently have two 3 terabyte hard drives that I've set up in RAID 0 to act as one big 6 terabyte hard drive. So, to do that, you're going to need a program called MDADM. So if you don't have that, you can go ahead and do sudo apt install MDADM. So in my case, I already have MDADM on my server. So next, what you would do is you would do lsblk to see which disks are which. So in my case, I have an SDA and an SDC, which are both my 3 terabyte hard drives. In my case, it's already set up on RAID 0, which is currently mounted to /mnt/md0. And you can see on that MD0, which is set up on both SDA and SDC, it's showing 5.5 terabytes. So if you're going to be using multiple drives for this, I would recommend RAID 0. In my case, I'm running RAID 0 which is striped. Downside to that is if one of your drives end up failing, you kind of lose the whole thing. So if you're going to be doing RAID 0, I would at least keep a backup separate from it in case something happens. Otherwise, your only other option is doing, you know, a RAID 1 5 or 6 array, but that may limit your storage capacity, and that's up to you. So but in my case, I did RAID 0. So we did LSBLK. We gathered that both my 3 terabyte hard drives are SDA and SDC. And what we would then do is we would do sudo mdadm. Then we would do --create -verbose. In my case, we do mnt-md0, do --level equals 0. Then we would do --raid devices equals 2, which in my case it equals 2. If you have more drives than that, then you would change the number accordingly. And what we would do is we do -dev and in my case I would do SDA, and then I would do -dev/SDC. So that would set up both those drives to act as one. So in my case, I can go here, and I've saved it as a location here, but this is where both my image backups and my media server live on this MD0 drive, which is virtually both drives. So and we can verify in Radarr that status is downloaded. So what we can do is we can go to our server here. We will have to go click our menu here, and then we'll go down to administration dashboard. And then what we'll want to do is once we've loaded into the admin dashboard, you'll go ahead and click this scan all libraries right here next to the restart and shutdown buttons. So that'll run through everything, run all its tasks it needs to grab all the metadata and everything. But we'll let this do its thing here for just a moment. All right, so now that that is done, we can go back to home, and now we can see that Kung Fu Panda has automatically loaded all the images and everything, and we can see that it did grab some subtitles as well. So that's pretty much it. You can do a whole bunch of other stuff. I can show you mine, in fact. So this is my server that I've set up. I'm using a custom CSS called Jellyfin, I believe it's called, which just adds some animations and other things. But you can totally customize it. I've got quite a bunch of stuff on here, so I've already maxed out my 6 terabytes, and I'm currently working on getting more drives to add on top of that. So, and then where to go from here. So what you can do is a very common add-on is Seerr. So we can go ahead and search that up here. So this is just an easy way for both you and anyone that you share your server with to request any movies or TV shows without giving them access to Radarr or Sonarr. So that way, you know, you can kind of control, like if someone, you know, requests 30 seasons of some show and you don't want that to load up all of your drive space, you can then either decline it or manually modify how many seasons of that show. That's just an example, but so what we'll go ahead and do is grab the Docker compose file here. Here we go. So what we'll do is we'll nano into our docker-compose.custom.yaml. We'll uncomment services here, and then what we'll do is we'll add a tab. We'll go back to our compose. Since we already have services, we can just copy Seerr here. And we'll copy that, go into here, Control Shift V. So here, what you need to do is you need to change your time zone. So in my case, since I'm on the West Coast, I'll do America/Los Angeles. If you're on the East Coast, you would do New York, etc. So we'll keep port 5055. Came across a bit of an error real quick. But when you uncomment services, make sure you comment all of this because it won't work after that. So, so what we can do is now we can do YAMS start Seerr, which will pull Seerr from our custom YAML file. So now it's pulled, and now it's going to create the Seerr container. It's going to start it up. So now we're all good to go. So now, like we've done with every other program here, go into our Firefox, and we'll again open up our IP there. Port for Seerr is 5055, which will then load up Seerr here. So it looks like we've got a config problem here. So let's check that out real quick. So let's check our YAML file here. So let's go ahead and change this to /ops/yams/config/Seerr. So, and we'll go ahead and make sure that we have /app/config per the Docker compose files. So we'll go ahead and Control X, Y, enter. And we'll do YAMS restart Seerr. Then it'll recreate it, start it back up, and we can go back in here, and we can restart. So now we've made Seerr here, and since our media service of choice is Jellyfin, we'll hit configure Jellyfin. Go ahead and enter in our private IP here, and then we'll go ahead and enter in an email address, as well as, and keep in mind this is your Jellyfin details. We'll go ahead and enter in our username as well as our password that we set up for Jellyfin, because we're going to be logging in using Jellyfin. So we'll sign in, and then we'll sync libraries, and we'll check both movies and shows, and we can start a scan real quick just so that it knows. And we'll go ahead and save changes and continue. So then what we'll do here is we'll add Radarr and Sonarr here. So we'll go add Radarr server. We'll do default server name. You can just do Radarr hostname 192.168.0.36, which is our private IP. Again, we'll have to go grab our API key here, general. We'll grab our API key, back into Seerr, and then copy and paste it there. And then we'll have to test, but then we'll select a quality profile. We'll do any. We can select a root folder of movies and then released. So and then we'll do enable scan there and tag requests there. This is optional. That's just if you want to know who's requesting what and what originated from where. So then we'll go add server, and then we'll do the same for Sonarr as well. We'll go grab our API key from Sonarr, go back into Seerr, add Sonarr, default server, server name, Sonarr, our IP address as usual, put in our API key, and we'll test again, and then we'll do any there we go. And if you're doing a different setup for anime, you would set that here. Otherwise, we'll just hit enable scan and tag requests here. Then we'll add server. Then we will finish our setup here. And then we are all set up with Seerr. So then what we can do is, let's say we want to do Kung Fu Panda 2. We can request it. In this case, since we are the admin, it'll automatically approve it. Otherwise, it'll show up as a request. So we can hit request there. It'll also show up in requests here. But it'll also show here what the status is. So in this case, we can also go to Radarr and see that it has piped in through to Radarr. And we can also go into qbittorrent once it finishes searching, because it might take a while. So it's found one. It's going to file it into qbittorrent here. And then you can see here it's downloading Kung Fu Panda 2. And also do keep in mind every time you add media, obviously every so often, depending on what you set in your server, in dashboard and scheduled tasks, you can change this trigger to do it more than every 12 hours. Otherwise, you would have to do it manually by going to settings, admin, dashboard, and then going and clicking scan all libraries. So that's pretty much it. You may want to add other programs, totally up to you. There may be times like this where we've got a low number of seeds or peers. It's downloading in kilobits per second, and it's going to take a couple days to get a movie. So in this case, what we do is select Kung Fu Panda 2, click delete here, also permanently delete the files. We'll hit remove, go back into Radarr, and you'll hit this interactive search button. This way you can see all the options here. So what I like to do is hit peers twice so you can get the highest amount of peers and seeds. So we can see here, we can just do this. This is actually the one that I have. But this one's a web download, 1080p. Got 191 peers and 41 seeds. So we can go ahead and click this button here, which will override it and add it to the queue. We can go ahead and grab release. If it succeeds, that download icon right there will turn green. If it fails for any reason, probably due to your indexing, due to your indexers, it'll turn red. In this case, it failed. So we'll choose a different one. We can do this Blu-ray 2160p here. Override, grab. In this case, this one did succeed and it was added to the queue. So then if we go back to qbittorrent, you can see that we've got, starting here, got a bunch of peers. We're grabbing from 2 seeds and we're downloading at a speed of, well, it's ramping up now, but about 4 megabits, 3 megabits per second. But you can see that ETA go down, or yeah, it's all trial and error here. You may have to do that quite a lot if you want something immediately. Otherwise, you know, it might take a little while. There are programs such as Cleanupper with 2 R's that will automate this, so you can set different flags. So if it's slower than a megabit per second or so, or you can adjust that, then it'll cancel that one. add it to a block list so that it doesn't grab it again, and then it'll choose a different one until it finds one that fits your liking, so that you can do it quicker and more efficiently. So the choices are endless. You can do as you please. If you have any questions, if something came up not in the video that I did, or if there's something that I missed or that I didn't explain very well, you can go ahead and leave a comment, and I'll get back to you. Aside from that, you're pretty much good to go, and enjoy your free media service, and enjoy unsubscribing from Netflix and Hulu and everything. I've done it and I haven't looked back. All I pay for is my VPN. That's it. So, yeah.